Mark Zuckerberg started Facebook. Eventually it became a 500 million member enterprise. He became the youngest billionaire in history. Now, I'm inspired by that. I try to come up with ideas as to how I can be an entrepreneur that rivals Zuckerberg. So I go through a lot of ideas every day. So the first stage of my business is coming up with ideas. They of course have to be innovative and supply a need, or answers to a need, really. Or I can take the Steve Jobs approach and just presume that people don't know what they need, and that I provide it for them, right? You know, did millions of people know that they needed iPods? Well, he put them out there and millions of people ended up needing them. So what I try to do is I spend a few hours each day, 6 hours to be honest with you, in my chair right over here, and I concoct ideas that will create billions of dollars of revenue. And I try to make it really innovative so that I can skip a lot of steps. That my idea will be so innovative that I won't have to go through a lot of the bureaucratic hoops with people who disbelieve. But they'll be so astonished by the inventiveness of my ideas that I'll just be given carte blanche. The red carpet will roll out in front of me, and I'll just have to walk down it, pomp and circumstance. It's hard, though. You know, if you've ever done this yourself, these $1 million ideas are a dime a dozen, but I want $1 billion idea. And those aren't a dime a dozen, to be honest with you. My best idea is called the Snotty-Nosed Brat. Now, we know that people like to get a sense of power by bashing on something. So what I was thinking of doing is creating the Snotty-Nosed Brat app, where I will just spend time as a grown adult online, and people can access me through my website called the Snotty-Nosed Brat. And they get on and they see me acting like a snotty-nosed brat. I'm complaining. I'm kvetching. I'm unhappy with everything. I'm ungrateful. I act superior to people when I'm not. All sorts of things that we would normally revile, I will celebrate. But I'll have to be a really good actor. Like, I'll have to convince people that I actually am a snotty-nosed brat. And as any method actor knows, you take it off camera, right? So while they're filming, for example, The Dark Knight, Heath Ledger is taking the Joker off camera, and so is Christian Bale with the Batman. So the best way for this $1 billion idea to work is to be a snotty-nosed brat all the time as a grown adult, and to have people just heap venomous comments on me. And then it's exponential. It's self-recurring in the sense that every comment will trigger me to be more of a snotty-nosed brat. And then the app is where people are able to go onto the app and follow me throughout the day, no matter where I'm at. So let's say I go to Kroger and I buy some tortilla chips with a kick of lime. and they're out of tortilla chips with a kick of lime. And I go up to the cashier at the register and I say, where are your tortilla chips with a kick of lime? I want my tortilla chips with a kick of lime. And I'm obsessive, and I'm inconsolable. How do you say that? Disconsolate. Inconsolable? You know those words. You've seen them before, but you probably haven't ever said them, and then they come out of your mouth and you're like, I don't know if I know how to pronounce that. Inconsolable? Yeah, that's good. So I'm there at the register, and I'm talking to the cashier, and she's like 22. She's innocent, angelic, and I'm like, where's my tortilla chips with a kick of lime? And she looks at me. I'm sorry, sir. Can you say that again? Where's my tortilla chips with a kick of lime? Now you may wonder to yourself, how is that snotty-nosed brat? Well, come on, we've got to, again, this is about being inventive and innovation. I'm not going to be like, the whole time. That's the funnel that gets people in to the app, into the website, right? But I can't be like, snotty-nosed brat all the time. I've got to mix it up because people are going to get bored with that. But snotty-nosed brat is the clincher. Right? I'm a grown man. I've got to come up with a lot of ways to be repulsive, right? So, when this cashier, innocent, angelic blonde, let's say, is looking at me and saying, sir, I'm sorry, that's a really strong accent. Can you speak in American English? I'm like, no. Where is my tortilla chips with a kick of lime? Sir, you're not Mexican. It doesn't matter. I need my tortilla chips with a kick of lime. And part of it is that I get progressively incomprehensible. I need my tortilla chips with a kick of lime. And I keep going, and and it's like, all of a sudden the manager comes over, and I'm like, I need a kick of lime, and a kick of lime, and a kick of lime. And I'm out of control. And man, the fucking sales goes through the roof. People get t-shirts and mugs with snotty-nosed brat written across it, and I have programs and I visit college campuses. Now that's the kicker, because the professors are like, this is revolting, and I'm like, I'm a billionaire. How much do you make? And I'm looking at them in the face and I'm like, what are my tortilla chips with a kick of lime? And that's the tagline. You see how it all works together? Once you hit that pot of gold, you monetize it and you take it everywhere with you. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't matter that it's stupid. It matters that it titillates. It matters that it's a revenue generator. It matters because it enhances my profile. It gives me publicity. It matters because it's unique. It matters because it is answering a need in people that they didn't know they had before. Because let's be honest, the days of presenting something for sale that actually really truly matters are long gone. What you really want is something that entertains, of course, but something that's outrageous. Because then you get to forget that things that aren't outrageous don't really matter. Only the outrageous matters. And for me, that means being a grown man acting like a snotty-nosed brat. Everywhere I go, I sabotage the civility of the moment by acting like a snotty-nosed brat and getting it on camera. And I take it to high levels of artistic perfection, let's be honest. And when I'm there at a college, university, and giving a talk, I can slip in and out of 3 or 4 different personas in the first minute. And I'm essentially teaching people how to go with their own talents, monetize their own talents, become entrepreneurs, and if they're like me, become like a billionaire. Like instantly. Because the originality of the idea is ferocious. A grown man going everywhere acting like a snotty-nosed brat. As if he's a 6-year-old throwing a tantrum because he's not getting his Cheerios. It's obvious now, isn't it? The brilliance of my idea. Because civilization is collapsing all around us. So integrity and nobility of characters is not exactly at a premium. People don't care about that now. We're way past the peak decadence and we're on the decline, the other side of the bell curve. So the things that got us to the top of the bell curve aren't valued anymore. Valor, honor, in addition to integrity and nobility, right? Honesty, even, right? Those aren't valued. What is valued now is brash rudeness, outrageous imbecility. Because it's a foregone conclusion. We're done. We're done as a civilization. So now we just got to get the scraps while we're going down the other end of the bell curve. Right? Everything's parody now. Everything is one person lambasting another, roasting another, destroying another, canceling another. Cancel culture, right? Well, who's going to cancel me? I'm not even putting myself out there as something to be taken seriously. This isn't like some impeccable platform, and you're looking to take me down. I'm already taking myself down. I'm the snotty-nosed brat. Right? And people get to feel superior to me all the time. And that's something they will pay for. That's the billion-dollar idea. Get a way for people to feel superior, and you take their money. You monetize their superiority complex, essentially. Because what you may have noticed is after civilization goes over that bell curve, what turns you on? Right? Being an extraordinary human being, an upstanding human being, an exemplary, admirable human being is not of paramount importance anymore. That was when the bell curve was rising and even toward the top of the bell curve. But now that we're on the other end of the bell curve, none of that matters. That's old school, that's archaic, it's antiquated. It's irrelevant. What's most relevant now is when we're on that sled on the down part of the bell curve, is that we enjoy the ride. And part of enjoying the ride is feeling superior to people, but without having earned our superiority. We just judge them as being inferior because they're acting retarded. The snotty-nosed brat is such a badly behaved adult human being that people get to judge it with doing nothing but sitting in their chairs. And sitting in their chairs or their sofas and just, being lethargic and indolent and lost is a horrible place to be. But you know what's worse than that? Being a snotty-nosed brat. You're going to pay me billions for that. But I haven't figured out something very important. Now, I haven't really approached anybody about this yet. I'm still working through it. But you can see how I do things now for like 6 hours on end. And this particular ingenious idea is going to take a while to suss out, right? Unpack, cultivate. And I'm just going to sit there and develop it, the intricacies, and we'll see where it goes. But whenever I get to a point where the innovative imagination is really on fire and I'm on a plateau of pure inspiration and I'm just going downstream with all these incredible perspectives and ideas, then I think to myself, okay, so I've got my $1 billion. What do I do now? I have, in this case, with this scenario, with this paradigm, I have become the epitome of a worthless human being, and now I have $1 billion. I am a being of worth. So what I'm presenting on my website and in the app is just a worthless human being, and then I've got all this money for being a worthless human being. I've become worth $1 billion for being a worthless person. Well, that's obviously another thing that we've got as a phenomena on the downside of the bell curve in the collapse of civilization. Worthless human beings worth billions of dollars. It's a conundrum. So what I may come up with is an answer to that, because now it's a real need of mine. If people are following me around, if I've got this drone camera always focused on the snotty-nosed brat, and I've got to be this way throughout my waking state, when do I get to enjoy my billions of dollars for this enterprise, for my ingenuity? Unless, of course, I can become a snotty-nosed brat with that $1 billion. That would be like the next sequence, the sequel to Snotty-Nosed Brat Part 1. Snotty-Nosed Brat Part 2 is me taking that $1 billion from Part 1, the profits, and being a snotty-nosed brat on an entirely new scale, a massive scale, a wicked scale. Because now I'm going to be a snotty-nosed brat toward billions of people with my billions of dollars. And that's what's brilliant, because then I got to come up with something entirely new. People aren't going to sit on their couches, slovenly couches, and be superior to me at that point. Now it's bait and switch. I flipped the script, turned the tables. I'm the billionaire snotty-nosed brat. And that means I get to cause a lot of trouble for a lot of people. So this would be like the second part of my 6-hour reverie. And the final 3 hours, the second lap, the other half of the bell curve, I'm now thinking how I might destroy civilization altogether. Get us down to the bottom of the bell curve where it's all over. Because I think that's probably the charitable thing to do, the most compassionate thing to do. You know, in Buddhism, they've got this ideal called the bodhisattvas. It's the individual who's awakened, got enlightened, and then they go into society and help everybody else get enlightened. So what I'm thinking of doing for part 2 of the snotty-nosed brat, which is really called the snotty-nosed brat billionaire, is how can I just collapse the whole nightmare? Get it over with. How can I just stop this show? It's a horror flick, isn't it? All this deception, machinations from these other billionaire snotty-nosed brats, trillionaire snotty-nosed brats. Now I'm going mano-mano, head-to-head with these fuckers. That's the key. You kind of got to cut out the legs from underneath them and everyone. And then start a new civilization. So what I'm going to do is take my pedigree as a, techpreneur, as someone who is a descendant of the lineage of Zuckerberg and what's his name from Twitter, Dorsey, right? And whoever did Instagram. And all these tech giants and Musk and Gates, I'm their descendant, but I'm just taking this one little idea, the snotty-nosed brat, becoming a billionaire, and then cancel culturing the rest of civilization, because it's about time someone canceled civilization, don't you think? It's kind of crazy, isn't it? Done. We got to build a new civilization. And that's part 3 of the Snotty-Nosed Brat app and website. Start a new civilization once we've gone down to the valley. After the descent from the bell curve, the peak from the bell curve, we're down in the valley. Civilization is over. And now it's part 3. Of the snotty-nosed brat.